Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about my birth story, well, at least what I can remember of it. My baby was born on June 1st, 2020, and I had to be induced due to gestational diabetes, which I did not have with any of my other two. So I get there, and they bring me to my room, and I get tested for COVID, which was negative. Then after them doing paperwork, setting everything up, about 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes later, they had me hooked up to Pitocin and started that on a low dose, I think it was. And then we just waited. So my friend came to stay with me for a little bit. Then she had to leave. But during that time, I was sleeping. They were asking me questions, checking me. I think I was at like 3 or 4 when I got there. No, it was 3 when I got there because I was still at the same um, dilation as I was before I went in. So I was at 3, and then before they broke my water, I was at 5 maybe or 6. I can't remember. It wasn't that big of a jump. And it had been a while, and then they asked me if they could break my water. So they broke my water. Which before they broke it, they did tell me that my labor would increase, but knowing me, I was like, oh, it'll be okay. I'm not gonna feel anything. I was 100% wrong. They broke my water, and then literally like 30 minutes later, it went from 0 pain to 100. So I ended up getting an epidural, which I kick myself every day for getting that, and I'll explain why at the end. So after they broke my water, my contractions, my dilation went from whatever it was before. I think it was at a 5 before, went to like a 10, and like I I would say um maybe maybe an hour and a half later. It wasn't that long. And then my epidural kicked in like no other. It did take a minute. I think it took like maybe 10, 15 minutes before I actually felt the effects of the epidural. Because during the epidural, after the epidural was put in, I was still in a lot of pain. Like I had back labor again. I had back labor with my second one, but this was like a back labor on steroids. It was terrible. So they did that. I was waiting for it to kick in. It finally kicked in. And when it was time, when they checked me and I was at a 10 and they could see her head coming, it really increased. And my friend got there just in time for me to start pushing. So it was crazy. I don't remember all the details because it was like a blur. Like it was fast. When they said that I had to be induced, I thought it was going to take all day, all night. Nah, that went fast. So so it was fast. She came. I didn't really push, honestly. I pushed because it took a minute. But I like had to have help like the whole entire time because I was numb. Like not like my legs were all heavy. I couldn't lift them to push. They did help me. Like people were helping me have my legs back there so I could push. And then she came out and she wasn't making any sounds or anything like that. It took I think it took like a good like 2 or 3 minutes before I heard her crying, cause I guess she had like stuff in her throat. But they got her cleaned up. She was healthy. She was 8 pounds 10 ounces, big old baby, and she was beautiful as ever. And so that was the gist of my labor. I really feel like it was a blur. Like the last two, I can tell you everything that happened, but this one, it was really a blur. It went from like 0 to 100 in a very short amount of time, in my opinion. So about my labor. With the other two, I did not have gestational diabetes. So I literally with my son, I went into labor on my own. My water broke, everything was fine. With my daughter, I was already at 8 centimeters when I went into the hospital, so I was already in labor. And then with this one, it was a totally different ball game. Like my whole pregnancy was totally different this time around. because of the gestational diabetes. I've never been induced before this. It was crazy. And I had planned to not get an epidural. I had planned to do all natural. I planned to use the ball. I planned to walk around. I didn't do none of this stuff. Not this time. And I feel bad that I feel bad that I didn't get to do the plan I had already had in my mind. But I guess birth is another thing where he says expect the unexpected, because it was not how I expected. And I feel like it's partly my fault that I didn't get the birth I wanted, because my whole entire pregnancy, up until I got my gestational diabetes and up until the point where they said I had to be induced, which they didn't tell me I had to be induced until my appointment before. Like, it was the second to last appointment I had. And like, oh, you have to be induced, and told me I had to make an appointment for it. So I didn't really research what induction means, what happens when you get your water broke. So I didn't really know, like, it would really go from 0 pain to 100 in like a few seconds. It was like maybe a couple minutes. So I feel like if I ever have another one, which I'm not saying I am, I'm not saying I'm not, I will do more research on the things, and now I know that what it means when they break your water. It's not that fun. It was actually a really good birth in general. Like, I didn't get birth plan. I didn't get to do what I wanted to, but I feel like if I'm more educated on it, having lived through an induction and seeing that whenever you get gestational diabetes in one of your pregnancies, then subsequently you'll have that again. So I know now what to expect, and I can do more research to get the birth plan that I want. And next time, I will not have them break my water. Hopefully, I break it on its own. Um, as far as COVID and pregnancy, I didn't have it. I pretty much isolated myself once, like, isolation happened, except for appointments and stuff. And this is the baby we're talking about, my little chunkster. This is Freya. But like I said, COVID wasn't, to me, like, I locked myself up. I'm more scared of getting COVID now than before. But as far as in the hospital, I got to labor how I wanted to. I didn't have to wear a mask while I was in labor or any time in my room. Like I did before I was in actual labor. When the nurses would come up, I would be nice and put my mask on just to protect them, even though they were already wearing protective stuff. But because my test was negative, they didn't have to be in like full, like, all the way covered up from head to toe. They did have their little face shields on. They had gloves on. They had gowns on, all that stuff. So it wasn't, to me, it wasn't that far off from like original, like my other two births, minus the fact that everybody wore a mask. Um, I got a room by myself. It was nice. They had cable, nice food. Um, After my birth, it was pretty simple. Same thing. I didn't have to wear a mask unless I was going out of the hallway, and I only went out of the hallway once. Besides when I left, when I was discharged, I only went out from my birthing room to my actual hospital room because it was separate. But other than that, seemed like a normal birth. Um, I I think it was a good one. It was not expected. It was not as I expected it would be, but and that's what everything. You can't really make a plan 100% and think it's gonna happen because it might not. But she's healthy, little fat girl. Say hi. This is her Mushu that she loves. Hi. You gonna say hi? And she's doing good. Say hi, I'm doing good. Say yes, I'm doing good. But anyways, that was my birth story. My birth video that my friend recorded for me is up on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. This is just my experience. Like I said, it's been a long 4 months with lockdown and everything else, so I don't remember 100% everything that happened. I just do the main things that happened. If you have any questions, just let me know. Ow. Say bye. Say bye bye. See you later.